To a 7-year-old, that means a lot. My big brother's name is Phil, and Phil is the reason that this 7-year-old grows up to be a systems analyst.
Whether you donate money or time, you're helping Big Brothers Big Sisters help a child, and that can last a lifetime. Start something today at bigbrothersbigsisters.org. Brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Ad Council.
This is Talk 1470.
Talk 1470.
WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Are you a family caregiver? Are you caring for someone who can no longer care for themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is the Caregiver Reality Hour. Caregiving experts David Levy and Marcia Teal co-host an hour of true stories, tips, updates on the latest Alzheimer research, and caregiver education, all focused on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, the leader in assisted living dementia facilities in the U.S. over the past 20 years. David Levy, gerontologist, author, and subject matter specialist in family mediation for caregivers, has become a nationally recognized family caregiver expert. Co-hosts Marcia and David cover everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, or chronic illness. Have a friend or relative who is also a family caregiver? Call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. Watch on caregiverreality.com. Click Live Channel. Listen on WWNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from 40-plus years of family caregiving expertise.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same.
Now we are. Good evening, South Florida, America, and the world. And in the background, you can hear from Welcome Cotter. Welcome back. And we're back bigger and better than ever after a month off. And with me is my new co-host, Marcia Teal, who not only is not my co-host, but she also covered one of the shows while I took a little break. And we waited to get some results back from the national audience, and we had a great response. People really missed us, and I was delighted to see that. And we've got a whole new format for the show, and I just can't wait to get started. So, Marcia, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited about the new show, the new format, working with you, helping caregivers. It's going to be awesome. We have all kinds of great things to do for you in the coming weeks and months.
Right, and not only that, but Marcia, on her way in, stopped and picked up this plant. I don't know whether or not one can see it. Put it over by where you are, Marcia. And it has...
I'll be Vanna White.
Right, you'll be Vanna White. All right, and if you can see, although it's a little tough with all the lights in here, it's an owl. So we give a hoot, and Marcia had a great line for why it's an owl, because we are discussing...
Alzheimer's.
Which is bad humor, but makes good sense, all right? And so we're very, very pleased. The new format of the show is such that we're going to concentrate a little more on not only discussing Alzheimer's, because it is such a prolific disease, and I just came from a phenomenal speech that was given by Dr. David Watson here in South
Dr.
Florida.
Watson, yes.
Right, and presented by Comfort Care as part of a 5-week series that I was part of in educating caregivers. And the most amazing thing is they all, not only did they start out with education, but they came together, and now there's a support group that has evolved out of it. And so I was very pleased to see that.
Gee, isn't that surprising?
Yeah, well, that's
that's the way it works.
That is the way it works.
Right.
And so for those of you that weren't listening during the opening, I just want to give you a little handle on Marcia. I've known her now for, I guess, 13 years. Maybe even a little bit longer, but I won't tell. And because she just gets younger every day. And she's been the marketing director at Arden Court in Delray Beach on Jog Road. and she'll give you the particulars. So if you want to speak with her about anything concerning Alzheimer's, dementia, even if you're not interested in a facility right now, Marcia has seen and heard it all. So I mean, you have one of the top experts in the country in terms of families that are dealing with dementia. She does a variety of great things every month. She has a major lunch and learn for professionals every quarter. She has, and she'll tell you about it, some outstanding individual nationally who comes in to speak. And I do the support groups there every other Friday for the families.
Right.
And so
we have a lot going on.
We have a lot going on. And I won't give you all of her academic credentials. They're too prolific, and we really want to move on with the show.
All I can say is after 15 years of being in the trenches with the families and speaking to thousands of families, I have seen and heard a lot. So
yes, you have.
It is hands-on experience right with those caregivers, and that's why I think the show is so important, because we're going to be helping more caregivers than what we can just right here in South Florida.
And for those of you that have mild cognitive impairment and don't remember before this past month, I'm David Levy. I no longer practice law. I am a gerontologist. I study aging. My specialty is non-clinical family caregiving, practical problem solving, and I also do family mediation focused at the caregiver family and the family dynamic. I'm considered a subject matter expert by the Supreme Court in Florida, and I've been doing this for 28 years, and my book is just being published nationally. We'll be making it available on the air, and it's the Family Caregiver Practical Problem Solving Manual, how to plan and solve for the 85% of family caregiving that isn't clinical.
Well, that makes you very wise, so I think the wise old owl is appropriate.
And because you give a hoot. All right. And I must say you look lovely this evening in your dress of many colors.
Well, thank you, David. Today is Cinco de Mayo.
Right.
And so we're celebrating that, but not only is it representative of that holiday.
Right.
You do know, I know you do know, but for all of the caregivers out there that are listening and watching, caregiving solutions are not just black and white.
No.
And there's many answers representing by many colors, and so that's what we're here for, to kind of provide those solutions. It's not all a black and white issue.
No, if it were that easy, then we wouldn't have 15, 20 million caregivers. And so your microphone just decided it was going to do a little dance because you said Cinco de Mayo.
There you go.
All right. But one of the things we're going to start off with, and Marcia and I will just discuss it for a few minutes. For those of you that are new to the show, or even those of you that have been listening, many times people say, how do I know I'm a family caregiver? I mean, nobody comes and taps you on the shoulder and says, you're a family caregiver.
Nope.
You don't catch a disease, because family caregiving isn't a disease.
Although it can be affected by the whole family.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm not saying that you can't be stressed out and get sick from the demands of family caregiving, but you don't catch it. There's no disease that we could look up in any of the diagnostic material that will tell us that there's caregiver disease.
But there's lots of symptoms.
Absolutely, lots of symptoms. And Marcia, why don't you start us off? What makes an individual a family caregiver?
Oh my gosh. Do you know that some people don't even know that they're a caregiver, like you said, because they're so much into the trenches, they're into it, that they don't even realize it. Let me give you a quick example. I was working with a family, and it happened that there was a daughter, and her mother and father lived in a regular assisted living, and shortly thereafter, the father passed away. And all of a sudden, they realized that the mom couldn't be there by herself because the dad was the caregiver for the mom, although the daughter didn't realize how bad mom's condition was. And all of a sudden now, guess what? The daughter is thrust into that role as caregiver because she's the one that's left to do it.
Right.
So,
and you said the magic word, role, because caregiving is a role and a responsibility. And when you are thrust into the role, as you very accurately said, It didn't come with a set of instructions. We didn't go to school to become caregivers. The fact that we have been nurturers or may have raised our children does not prepare us to be caregivers for our parents, our spouses, and even our older brothers and sisters, all right, who may have contracted the disease. And when I was listening to David Watson today, he was talking about his youngest patient right now is 40.
Yep, it's early onset Alzheimer's. I mean, it affects people at all ages, all walks of life, all nationalities. I'm talking about dementia. That's my passion. And with this particular daughter, thrust into this, she didn't even know what to do first, second, and she was so overwhelmed. She herself was in a crisis. Not only was her mother in a crisis, but she was in a crisis.
Well, that, and we'll be getting into more of that, but would you believe, Marshall, we've already used up our first 13 minutes, so we're going to go to a break, and when you come back, I know that Arden Court, as one of our sponsors, has got a tremendous gift for everybody that responds back who's listening to the show tonight, and I want you to tell them about it, and we'll go on from there.
Okie doke.
Pop's Neighborhood Pharmacy is your local pharmacy for all your prescription needs. And I mean all. Located at 20 Northeast 2nd Avenue, Deerfield Beach, Florida. Just north of Hillsborough Boulevard and south of Deerfield City Hall. Got a unique RX from your doctor that needs to be compounded to your exact needs? Pop's is the place. The only pharmacy with a sterile compounding room. These are the experts. Call and speak to Steve, head pharmacist, at 754-227-7252. They will transfer your RXs from any pharmacy. Contact your doctor. And Pops accepts most major insurers. Plus, they deliver. They are open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Need to meet on the weekend? Call Steve and he will come in just for you. The number is 754-227-7252. Rings through to him in off hours, so even in an emergency, Pops is there for you. See what you've been missing. You deserve Pop's custom service. 754-227-7252. You can't beat their customer-pleasing attitude. 754-227-7252. You will be so glad you did. Arden Court's Memory Care Community has the expertise and experience to simplify and enhance your loved one's life and to protect you, finding the peace of mind you deserve. Come, see the difference in a facility like Arden Courts that is 100% dedicated to Alzheimer's and dementia care can have on your loved one. Call us at 888-478-2410 or visit our website, arden-courts.com.
And we're back. And Pops, I just want to say thank you because they did some prescription work for a client of mine this past week. They're here in Deerfield Beach. But Arden Court, who is now one of our national sponsors, along with Senior Citizens Bureau, that I'll be talking about in a little bit, has a great offer for those of you that want to know and understand more about Alzheimer's disease. So, Marcia, why don't you tell us what it is that Arden's offering?
Well, thank you, David. We want to offer to the caregivers out there this free Alzheimer's disease and related dementia caregiver's guide. This is a nice little brochure. It actually talks about what is dementia, what to ask the doctor. It addresses issues like wandering. It actually has in here how to help your loved ones dealing with guilt and grief. This is a wonderful little brochure. If you're eager for information, we'd be happy to send this to you. All you have to do locally is come by Arden Courts in Delray Beach. The address is 16150 Jog Road, Delray Beach, Florida. However, if you are out of the area and you'd like to have this mailed to you, please just give me a call at my community. The phone number is area code 561-498-5552. We'll be happy to mail this to you. That way you can read it, and then when you watch Caregiver Reality Hour next time, you'll just be a little bit more informed.
Marcia, you want to give us that number again?
The local number to Arden Courts of Delray Beach is 561-498-5552. And we can mail this to you, or you can come by and pick it up. We'd be happy to help you and answer any questions that you might have.
And so for our national audience, and pretty soon, maybe later on in the show, We'll also be giving you a national phone number to contact Arden Court, and they will be happy if Marcia's not available to answer questions, direct you to any one of the Alzheimer's facilities that Arden Court runs nationally, and to be a help to you in any way they can, because they are here to serve the dementia community. I've known about Arden Court for some 15 years. Yep. I'm very pleased to have both Marcia and now Arden Court as a sponsor. And any of you out there that are in the proximity, not only to our voice, but we will let you know where these facilities are. I can only tell you they are the gold standard for what dementia care is all about, and I have no doubt about it. I've been around them way too long.
Well, you have been, because we're celebrating 20 years this year. So,
that's right, and I've been around it for 13 or 14 of those 20 years. Anyway, some of the things that we're going to be doing this time around with the show, we're going to be giving you great tips and advice based upon practical experience that both Marcia and I have had, things that we've learned, things that are in the news that you need to know. As I said, I was just listening to one of the great researchers, David Watson, who's down here in South Florida, and he made it very clear that right now the research is trying to point towards things that will help slow down the buildup of beta amyloid. Those are the plaques that we show up in the brain, and to slow down the development of tau, T-A-U, which is what gets tangled up in the neurons and unfortunately pushes neurons towards dying. But right now, there is no cure, but they are doing a tremendous amount of testing towards slowing it down. And if we can slow it down, then we know we're on the right path. And he's going away to the international convention. I don't know where it is this year. He just mentioned it. And when he comes back, we're going to have him on the show.
Yep.
And he's going to update us on everything that's going on worldwide in terms of dementia.
Right. And we're going to give all this current information so you, as the caregiver, can also be up to date, the last minute information, the current ways that we're researching, things that maybe you can do to help with that research.
And not only that, but to make sure that you're not led astray. You know, in this day and age, everything is sound bites, and everybody wants to have that wow of a soundbite. And many times, my caregivers, and Marcia's as well, come in and say, I heard on the news, or I read in the newspaper, or I saw an ad that said this particular drug or that particular process cures dementia or reverses Alzheimer's. And so far, that's not the case. And you need to be aware of what is and isn't current, what's working and what isn't, so that you can make wiser decisions on behalf of your loved one. Because one of the things in defining a caregiver is a caregiver not only has to be hands-on in the things that need to be done, they have to be a great advocate.
That's right.
Both for the caregiver to their doctor
That's
or
right.
the system or whatever it may be.
And in order to be a great advocate, you have to be educated.
Right.
So that's...
And we're not going to send you back to school, but
No.
we're going to leave you smarter.
That's right.
Every week. And starting in another week or two, we're going to be taking live call-ins. We're going to have it for a specific period of time in the program, because we know that many of you want to ask questions, but we need to get through some of the stuff, and then we'll have a very specific time for call-ins at our number here. And by the way, those of you that are listening here in South Florida, you're listening on WWNN 1470 AM. You can hear us on the iHeart app. Just go to Florida and scroll down to WWNN. You'll be able to see us right now on caregiverreality.com and AMP2.TV. But very soon, probably within the next week or two, you'll be able to see us on the arden-court.com website and the seniorcitizensbureau.com website. And I'll be talking about more of what Senior Citizens Bureau and what they're giving away this week. And we're going to constantly be having not only giveaways, but call-ins, because both of these organizations man the phones to give you information beyond what we can just talk about here on the air. and to help you make wise decisions and have the peace of mind that you've gotten in touch with great people that know what they're talking about. Marsh?
I just want people to know that there's help out there. So, you might not have the time to listen to our Caregiver Reality Hour for the whole time. And if you have something that is a burning question and you're desperate and you need help, you need to call to just get the answers that you need, try to find some solutions. And Arden Courts answers their phone 365 days a year. And the phone line is open from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And that number is 888-478-2410. So if you're listening to this now, right here and now, and you have a burning question that you just can't wait to get answered, feel free to call that 800 number, and someone will be answer and help you.
Give it again.
The number again is 888-478-2410. And again, 365 days a year, you can actually talk to a live person and get some support.
And same thing with Senior Citizens Bureau, who I'll be talking about in a little bit, but we don't want to bog you down with a lot of telephone numbers and a lot of .coms, but we are trying to get this information out to you as in every manner that we can, streaming video on the radio, on applications like iHeart, so that there's no excuse on our part for you not getting the information that you need in real time. Or remember that once it's embedded in the Arden-Court website, just like the Caregiver Reality website and the Senior Citizens Bureau, it will be archived there. So if you missed the show or a friend calls you and says, did you see what the Caregiver Reality? And you say, no, I couldn't. I was taking care of my loved one. You can go to our website or any of those at any time and watch the rebroadcast live, just as if you were watching it in real time right now. And so that you know, those phone numbers are manned 7/24. So even if Marcia isn't there, because on the East Coast it's nighttime, just remember the 888 number that she gave you is manned 7/24.
Well,
and so,
yeah,
pretty much so.
Pretty much.
And but then again, if you have a problem at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's always been my suggestion that more than likely it needs to be answered by 911 or a crises line.
Yep.
But we're available in either direction most of the other time to help you out. Marsh?
Well, David, I wanted to get from your perspective, because you, after all, you are the gerontologist. Tell us about your definition of caregiving and how does one actually know they're a caregiver?
Well, as we started out saying, most people don't know they're a caregiver. They're either a loving spouse or a good daughter or a good husband or, son, whatever the relationship may be. And all of a sudden, you realize that what you are trying to do, especially when somebody has one of the dementias, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's temporal frontal lobe, it really doesn't make a difference what kind of dementia. And you find yourself faced with issues that have nothing to do with anything that you've done in your life before now. All of a sudden, you're dealing with strange medications. You're dealing with doctors that don't, unfortunately, have a lot to tell you that can be helpful because there's an understanding about the disease, but there isn't a lot on how do you handle the practical problem solving.
The behaviors. How do I handle the behaviors?
How do I deal with the VA? How do I file with Medicaid? I mean, these are all issues that nobody sat down when we were taking home ec and shop in high school, all right, and said, guess what? You're going to have a course in caregiving. So when you find yourself dealing with a loved one and all of a sudden you don't understand where you are and you're having panic attacks and your anxiety level is up, you're not getting sleep at night, you're coming in late and leaving early at work and trying to take care of mom.
You're not seeing your friends anymore. You're not participating in your normal activities that you used to do.
You're a family caregiver.
There you go.
And it can be a thankless task, no matter how much love you put into it. You may also find in the world of caregiving, even amongst many brothers and sisters, that tag, you're it. You're the alpha caregiver, and the rest of the family can lob in good advice
You know,
or bad advice.
You know the daughter I told you about?
Yes.
That all of a sudden she was thrust into it? She was so overwhelmed because guess what? She didn't know what to do. She had two brothers that were out of state. She emailed them. She texted them. They weren't responding to her. And it was urgent that she had to know what to do to get the family's blessing, but it all fell on her.
Absolutely. And when it falls on you, do you know what you need legally? Do you know what you need to discuss medically? Do you know what you need to have in the house to handle dementia issues that come up all the time? And we'll be getting into them, whether it's issues of toileting, whether it's issues of structure. How do I get somebody to eat that doesn't want to eat, that doesn't want to bathe, that wants to go to sleep with their clothes and their shoes on?
And what if somebody keeps saying, I want to go home, and they are home? How do you deal with that?
Right.
These are things that David and I hear all the time. And we want you to know you're not alone when these issues and behaviors happen. You're not alone.
No. And part of what we will be doing is helping to guide you. And so not only can you call us, but whether or not you call the 800 number for Arden or the 800 number for Senior Citizens Bureau, which I'll be giving you, you can go to the Caregiver Reality website. You can leave us an email. We'll be starting a blog in the next few weeks. And so there will be no reason that you cannot get useful, informed information that both Marcia and I have taken the time to validate, vet, call it what you will, or based on our experience over together 40 some odd years, and that we know what we're talking about and we want you to know it too. And so you're not alone. We don't expect you to go down this path without help, and we're the real deal. I know that sounds a little bit self-serving, but we are. We've written the books, and we've walked the walk, and now we're talking the talk. All right? And so we're going to have to take another break. When I come back, I'm going to tell you a little more about Senior Citizens Bureau and what they have to offer. Marcia and I will be giving you some useful tips and also a couple more real-life examples of what it's like to be in the trenches if your loved one has dementia. Take it away.
Grab a pen, because you're going to be given some really important information and a phone number to call that will really help you.
Did you know that the law allows people to protect assets and qualify for Medicaid? Did you know that Medicaid can pay for home care, assisted living, and nursing home care at even the best facilities and with even the best of agencies? Hi, I'm Scott Solkoff, and I write the book on Florida elder law. My father and I have authored the leading textbook on Florida elder law, now in its 14th edition. I lecture, I train, I teach other lawyers and judges all about the law, and I can teach you too. I love teaching and advising my elderly clients and their families. Good elder law planning can save the family nest egg and result in a tremendous difference in quality of care. Board-certified elder law attorneys, I'm board certified, are specialists in planning for incapacity, wills, and trusts, and protecting assets against the cost of long-term care. Come in and see me. I charge $250 for a 2-hour meeting, and I don't think I've ever had one person tell me it wasn't worth many times that amount. We don't do free meetings, which often are nothing more than a sales pitch from someone who really needs the business. Call me at 561-733-4242. I've been in business for over 20 years doing just this work, and am certified as a specialist by the Florida Bar. Set an appointment. That's 561-733-4242. Come see me in my Delray Beach office on Atlantic Avenue. You just have to call my office at 561-733-4242, and I'm Scott Solkoff. Let me help you protect your assets, qualify for Medicaid or VA benefits, have greater peace of mind knowing that it's been done, and a higher quality of life. So again, call me, Scott Solkoff, at 561-733-4242, and remember, call your parents, not just to tell them about Scott Solkoff, just to tell them that you love them and appreciate them. I'm going to call my parents now.
The hiring of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based on advertisements alone. You can call our office at 561-733-4242 to get more information about our qualifications and expertise. We are very excited about our affiliation with Senior Citizens Bureau. Wonder who they are? The Senior Citizens Bureau has been around since 1998 and serves over 650,000 active and vital seniors and family caregivers around the country. This isn't your grandmother's AARP. Senior Citizens Bureau is an information hub where you will always find a warm welcome from real advocates, volunteers, and experts. Yes, concerned, knowledgeable, and friendly on everything from finding an attorney to transportation, mom's electric bill, to Medicare and Medicaid. You name it, and they will have an answer or get back to you with one. 1-800-281-1088. They also operate day facilities and soon will be coming to South Florida. Senior Citizens Bureau is a community of dynamic seniors offering personal support and friendship to each other. You're never alone with SCB. SCB will help keep you engaged with others. To find out more or enroll for membership, www.seniorcitizensbureau.com or call 1-800-281-1088. That's 1-800-281-1088. Listen weekly for our helpful SCB Tip of the Week.
And we're back. And you heard a little ad in there for Scott Solkoff. He's one of the leading, if not the leading, elder law attorney in the United States. He wrote the West Law books on elder law. His father founded the Elder Bar here in South Florida. And if you happen to call Scott, you're getting just about the finest there is in elder law, up to date. And he's here in South Florida. But give him a call if you need somebody nationally. He'll give you a referral, because he's part of the Association of Elder Law Attorneys nationally. More importantly, you heard our first ad for Senior Citizens Bureau, and since we recorded that ad, which was only a couple weeks ago, and we said 650,000 members, it's actually up now over 781,000 members. People are enrolling left and right. Is, as we said in the ad, it's not your mother's AARP, you're your grandmother's AARP. They're a very dynamic organization. They're full of information. They've got great things for senior citizens. I know there isn't a better word, it's like elder, and so, you have to call yourself at least something that identifies you, but senior citizen should not be used as just considering that it's old people. These are dynamic, active, vital seniors like yourself.
Like us.
Like us, all right? Well, not you, but me.
Oh, sure. I have my AARP card.
All right, but only because they gave it to you as a token gesture. All right, but I want you to understand that going forward, Senior Citizens Bureau is a great organization. It's a great organization to belong to. There was a number that we gave you on the air, but I also want to let you know that in conjunction with SCB, Senior Citizens Bureau, and myself, we have put together the 10 things that everybody, not just caregivers, need to know in this day and age, in aging. And while it's not specifically focused at dementia, it's focused at the family caregiver. And you can have a copy of this. Either they'll make it available to you by email, they'll mail it to you wherever you may be if you're not online, and that's a different number. I apologize for giving you two, but just like Marcia gave you the local number, I'm going to give you the number to call to get this valuable 10 things that everybody should know in this aging day and age. And that number it's in Houston, Texas. It's toll free. It's 832-478-9333. 832-478-9333. And get your copy of 10 things that everybody needs to know. Not only is it questioned, it's answered. And they will take your call. They'll also give you more information if you wish about Senior Citizens Bureau. You can see what they're all about at seniorcitizensbureau.com. And I think you'll discover that this is an organization worth being a part of. Not only are there great values to be had, but phenomenal information. They'll stand by you, and they man a call center or a question and answer line at the number that we gave you earlier. But to get your 10 things everybody should know about, write this number down now, 832-478-9333. And going forward, we're not going to bombard you with all these telephone numbers, but in getting started, we want you to know where you can find information besides what we're telling you. Marsh, give us a little tip of the week or another interesting story so we can keep moving forward.
Well, I have to tell you this because it was so interesting to me. The other day, I was talking to one of my son's college friends, and she was over at the house, and I wanted to get to know her a little better, and I asked her, I said, so, tell me about yourself as far as your parents and your mom and your dad. And she said, well, my dad, he's a hard worker, but my mom, she has problems. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, what kind of problems? And she said, well, she suffers from depression, she has COPD.
COPD, we can't use acronyms. You're talking about congestive obstructive pulmonary disease?
Right.
Okay,
so
trouble
she has
breathing.
Some problems with her breathing. And the girl said, I went to college, but now I live at home because I have to kind of help my mom. And I said, well, what do you do for your mom? She says, well, I clean the house and I fix all the meals and I wash the clothes. And I said to her, I said, oh, so you're a caregiver? She goes, no. She goes, I'm not a caregiver. She goes, I'm not a dementia caregiver. And she says, although my mom is starting to lose her memory. Mm-hmm. And I said, you are a caregiver. And here, she knows that I work at Arden Courts all these years. She never saw herself in that role until I told her she was a caregiver. I said, what does your dad do with this? Oh, nothing. He just works to pay all the bills. And he works really hard, and he buries himself in his work. I said, you are a family caregiver.
Right. And he is not only working very hard to supply the dollars and burying himself in it for a reason.
That's right.
Because it's very, very tough to see a loved one succumbing to a disease, and especially a couple of them. So if you have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, that means you have trouble breathing, which means you may have low oxygen in your brain, which can unfortunately exacerbate things like Alzheimer's disease and other brain issues.
Right.
And so, like it or not, she has slowly slipped into the role of caregiver that started out just being a good daughter.
That's right. And I said to her, I said, well, you live at home and you're working now. She got a college degree. I said, what's going to happen when you get a boyfriend and you get married and you want to leave home? Are you going to be able to leave home? I said, what about your dad? No, he can't handle it anymore. He's buried his head in the sand. He can't handle it. She says, we tried to get long-term care insurance, but it was too late. They didn't qualify. So this poor girl who's in her 20s, she has a long road ahead of her.
Yes, she does. And one of the things, if those of you that tried to get long-term care insurance and couldn't because you may have had a pre-existing condition or whatever, you need to know the funding sources that are available out there, either from the Veterans Administration, from Medicaid. You hear all kinds of stories about what we do and do not fund, and here in Florida, we're having a little bit of difficulty expanding Medicaid. But like it or not, Medicaid is an essential funding feature, and especially for elders. And one of the things and one of the places that you can learn about what's available out there, not only by calling Marsha or myself, but a good elder law attorney, because not only do you need to know what is Medicaid about, but you need to be in a position that your assets and the other issues surrounding things that you may own or not own.
Right. And I think this is so important, but I think we're going to probably do a whole show on this.
Oh, we'll do a number of shows on it, but I'm just saying, here was a daughter who said, my dad couldn't get long-term care, but now is the time to make sure that you understand what you do need to do, and that things like durable powers of attorney, which we'll discuss going forward, and advanced healthcare surrogate that says, I can speak for mom, I can do things on behalf of my husband, my wife, my parents. are so important, because if you don't have things like that and you have a loved one with dementia and all of a sudden there's no paperwork, you may be confronted with a guardianship. And I'm going through right now with a couple of my clients some very messy guardianships, all right? And it's not something that you want, because nobody needs, in the middle of all the difficulty of dealing with dementia and the family, to have the court in the middle of it.
That's right. So, I feel that I'm fortunate enough to know this girl's situation so I can help her. But for all the people out there that are in the same boat, and believe me, there are lots of people out there in the same boat, this show's for you. This is going to help you through all of these different issues that you're going to be coming up with, and some that you're dealing with now, some that you're going to deal with in the future.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you need to know is that what we're doing is making you aware. We can't solve everybody's problem. Some problems just, let's face it, if you don't have the money to do X, then realistically, you don't have the money. But that doesn't mean that you don't still have the problem, that it still needs to be resolved.
And you just have to go to Plan B or Plan C.
All right? And sometimes it may not be the best plan, but having no plan is to leave your life and your loved one just spinning upside down. And that's part of what this show is. And one of the reasons I'm so proud to be back and have Marcia as a co-host is because her knowledge, along with mine, together, I think we kind of complete the circumstance. You've got so much practical experience, I do, but, I have a little more from the formal side of it. But, one of the things I think we'll both agree on, and going forward we'll be talking about this more, as we talk, one of the things that caregivers need to recognize is that you need to find yourself a support group.
That's right.
And while
Very
that may
important.
not be the best word, Marcia, why don't you tell them why a support group's so important?
Support groups are important because people understand you. They've walked in your shoes. You can talk to your friends all you want, and they can give you advice, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. But until someone has walked in your shoes, they don't really, really understand what you're going through. And I think that's why they call it support, because other people are there to support you, to care about you, to understand you. Support groups are all different. It depends on the people that are in them. And I'm the first to tell somebody, if you go to a support group and you feel that's not for you, well, maybe try another one. Change them. Try another one. One size doesn't fit all. And so you want to continue to do that, because you will find one that is your niche.
Right. And Arden Court runs a couple of them for the public, and we'll be talking about them going forward tomorrow morning. If you just happen to be in the Delray, Boynton Beach area, I do one at Jewish Family Services out on West Atlantic between 9:15 and 10:30. It's open to the public, and you're more than welcome to be there. And but we're going to be telling you where you can go to support groups around the country and where they're available. And we're going to take a break right now because we still have another sponsor or two that we have to fit in, but we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Caregiver Reality Hour with Marcia Teal and David Levy.
Pop's Neighborhood Pharmacy is your local pharmacy for all your prescription needs. And I mean all. Located at 20 Northeast 2nd Avenue, Deerfield Beach, Florida. Just north of Hillsborough Boulevard and south of Deerfield City Hall. Got a unique RX from your doctor that needs to be compounded to your exact needs? Pop's is the place. The only pharmacy with a sterile compounding room. These are the experts. Call and speak to Steve, head pharmacist, at 754-227-7252. They will transfer your RXs from any pharmacy. Contact your doctor. And Pops accepts most major insurers. Plus, they deliver. They are open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Need to meet on the weekend? Call Steve and he will come in just for you. The number is 754-227-7252. Rings through to him in off hours, so even in an emergency, Pops is there for you. See what you've been missing. You deserve Pops custom service. 754-227-7252. You can't beat their customer-pleasing attitude. 754-227-7252. You will be so glad you did. Arden Court's Memory Care Community. has the expertise and experience to simplify and enhance your loved one's life and to protect you, finding the peace of mind you deserve. Come, see the difference in a facility like Arden Courts that is 100% dedicated to Alzheimer's and dementia care can have on your loved one. Call us at 888-478-2410 or visit our website, arden-courts.com.
And we're back. And that was just an Arden Court, another Pops commercial. Marcia, give us a little tip of the day. Give us a little hint on what you think.
Well, we want to leave the viewers with something practical that they can come away with, saying, "Gee, I learned a lot on Caregiver Reality Hour today, but that this is something very specific." And I want to talk about safety in the bathroom, because most of the falls that people with dementia when they suffer from is in the bathroom. It actually happens. It's just statistically, if they're going to fall, it usually
that's
happens.
Where it's going to happen.
That's where it's going to happen. And so, we at Arden Course, we want to educate. We want to help people to be safe at home. We're going to be a lot of home safety tips coming down the road, a lot of other things. But in the bathroom, you want to be sure that you have grab bars installed. You want to be sure that you've lowered your water temperature, because you don't want your loved one who has dementia going into the shower, turning it on full blast on hot, because they sometimes get the hot and cold mixed up, and now it's going to be scalding water. So you want to lower your water temperature on your water heater for that. You also want to remove throw rugs. Throw rugs are very dangerous. But specifically for people that have dementia, because do you know when you have a dark throw rug on the floor, people with dementia have a problem with perceiving that dark throw rug as a rug.
You mean like a bath mat?
Like a bath?
Not in the shower or in the bathtub, but you're talking about outside
on
where
the
you
floor,
drip.
the sink, maybe a rug going into the bathroom from the bedroom. And a lot of times if it's a dark mat, they have a problem with their perception, and it's spatial. Their spatial differentiation suffers, their ability to figure out what that is. And do you know that sometimes people that with dementia actually see that dark rug or that dark mat as a big black hole? Oh. And what'll happen is they won't step on it because they're afraid of going down the big black hole. So they will try to step over it, and now they're reaching, they're stretching, they're trying, with their legs, trying to get past that, and that might just end them up on the floor.
Right. And, part of what you're saying is not only excellent advice, but one of the things about those grab bars, many people recognize that the shower or the bath can be very slippery, and so they put those grab bars in the shower. But just as important is that you have a grab bar outside the tub, out or in front of the toilet, so that if they lean forward, they can pull themselves up, because many times everybody assumes that the towel rack is the grab bar.
Yeah, that'll come off the wall in a heartbeat.
And if it's not anchored properly, because all it is just cemented in like another piece of tile,
right,
it can crack, they can fall. So what you want there's two kinds of really excellent safety rails that are out there. They're the kind that you drill and actually screw into the tile. But there are also excellent ones today that are very powerful suction cups.
Right.
And when you install them, there's a little lever that you put down, and it puts a lot more pressure on than you could ever imagine. And the good thing about these are you can move them as you need them, or if that bathroom is going to be, you have guests coming and you don't want the same amount of grab bars in there because your loved one isn't using it at that particular point in time, you can just pop them off the wall and nobody will be the wiser.
Right.
Also, for the bathtub itself, and if you have to step over the bathtub and you've got an issue with grab bars, they make a clamp that clamps onto the tub that has an extendable hand,
right,
so that you can actually hold on to it as you step in and out of the tub, so that it's not as treacherous doing handhold to handhold.
Because
with just a grab bar.
If you're not careful and you're trying to get someone in and out of a bathtub, they're going to pull you in the bathtub with them.
Right.
And then there's going to be two of you in the tub.
Right. So if you don't find it at your friendly Walmart, or CVS, any good medical supply house will have all of these. And if you need somebody to come in, it's very inexpensive at Home Depot to find somebody that, or a handyman that'll come in and install them if you need them drilled into the wall in the shower and in the bathroom. They're one of the smartest things that you can do, and even for yourself. Even, I don't care how young you are, we've all slipped on a bar of soap or a wet floor, and we were very lucky that we didn't, break a bone.
That's right.
And, very interesting, while we're on the subject of being in the bathroom, I had a caregiver in my support group last week, and they were commiserating over the fact that this was a wife, and commiserating over the fact that she can't get her husband to put on a pair of Depends because he's incontinent.
He's incontinent, and that's a very common problem.
It's a very common problem just because of age. It doesn't have to be related to dementia. And, we see it these days with the ads. You see the whole football team marching across the street wearing a Depends. And she said, what can I do to get him to put them on? And I said, tell him that everybody's wearing them now, and you put a pair on when he puts a pair on, and say, let's do this together. Well, she called me the other night. It's been 3 or 4 days since
you got
this
the
support.
feedback?
And I already got the feedback. He's putting them on because I'm putting them
There
on.
you go, see?
And I said, see, monkey see,
Problems-
monkey do.
and
I mean
problem
that very
solved.
respectfully. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of practical. If they see you doing it, and it's not just them alone.
Yeah, the finger's not on them, and they'll do it because you do it, and it's actually very interesting because there are a lot of people that are very embarrassed about being incontinent, and it does come with the territory of Alzheimer's disease.
Well, and I'll tell you as a gerontologist, even in healthy aging, as we get older, and certain muscles, like the sphincter muscle in our bladder, all right, weakens. Many people have what they call BPH. Many men have that. It's not unusual. We see it in the ads all the time that women complain after a certain age that they leak a little bit.
Coughing, sneezing.
Whatever. So that this is not a subject that we can hide. And we shouldn't be afraid to use look, if you cut your finger, you'd put on a Band-Aid.
Right.
So if you have an issue, use what's there because you'll be a lot more comfortable. And if it takes you doing it, just like many people discover that in order to get their loved one to take a shower, they got to get in the shower with them.
You know what? It's a practical problem-solving issue, and it just takes someone to help you think outside the box sometimes.
That's exactly right. And it's those kinds of practical issues that those of you, the millions of listeners that we know are listening out there, is the kind of advice that you really need. Another little tip, and I'll just throw this one in. I know it's starting to get late. I can't believe this first show is moving as quickly as it is.
And we have so much more to say.
Yes, but we'll be back next Tuesday to tell you more.
Good.
All right, but very recently I had a caregiver a couple weeks back who was complaining that she could not get her husband, once again, this is a wife about a husband, to put on his pajamas. And he would get in bed and he'd be fully clothed.
Okay.
And I said, is he going to sleep? Oh, sleeps like a log. I said, let me ask you a question. Is it more important that he wears a sleep uniform called pajamas or that he gets a good night's sleep? And she thought about that. And I said, so take off his shoes so that he's not getting, not wearing his dirty shoes to bed.
Right.
And let him go to sleep.
Sure, why
and
not?
And in the
It's not
morning,
gonna
instead of
hurt him.
changing out of his pajamas, you'll change him out of those clothes and put him in the clothes he was going to wear.
Right.
I think we have to remember that our social rules, like wear pajamas to bed or whatever it may be, don't have to apply if you stop and think about it. What do I really want to accomplish here? I want my loved one to get a quiet night's sleep so I can.
You want him to be happy, safe, and healthy.
Right.
That's
so
what
if
you
he
want.
falls asleep in his dungarees and a T-shirt, fine.
You know what? It was like when my kids were little and they were babies and we brought them home from a long trip and they had their clothes on. I'm not going to wake up a sleeping baby to put jammies on them.
Right.
I'm going to put them to bed in their clothes, just like you said, and they're fine. It's not going to hurt them.
No.
It doesn't hurt anything to sleep in your clothes. You know what? I bet back in the day, a lot of people sleep in their clothes unintentionally and they survived.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we do not have to worry about the pajama brigade. And I've had this problem mentioned to me many times over the year. Eventually they go back to wearing pajamas, which is fine. So the thing is, don't get yourself all in a Twitter because they won't get in their pajamas. Much more important is they get in bed and go to sleep.
That's right.
Now, I want to come back because two of the things that we need to keep a handle on here is that Senior Citizens Bureau, and our call to action today is because the 10 things that everybody should know, whether you're a caregiver, whether you're a senior, is being made available to you simply for an 800 phone call to 832-478-9333. That's 832-478-9333. I think you'll find it very, very informative. We've only got a minute. So, Marcia, why don't you remind them what it is we've got from Arden?
Just want to remind you, if you'd like this free Dementia and Alzheimer's Caregivers Guide, call me at 561-498-5552. I'll be happy to mail it to you, or you can stop by and pick it up in person.
And just say hi to Marcia because she's just all that knowledge, you need to know. And so, South Florida, America, and the world, we're just so pleased to be back. Marcia, I am so happy to have you here as a co-host, and to thank you, Freddie and Kenny, who's back in the booth. This has been our first of the new shows, and we hope you liked it. Call and let us know. Email us at caregiverreality.com and tell us what it is you'd like to hear more of, what you didn't like, and we're very sensitive to what it is that you, the audience, care about. And so, good night, America, and have a great week. We'll see you back here next Tuesday.
See you next week.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Reality Show. Each week, David Levy, a gerontologist, a caregiver expert with over 25 years of experience, providing practical and realistic help to caregivers struggling to keep up with the needs of a loved one who are unable to care for himself or herself. To reach David Levy, email him at david@caregiverreality.com and find out more online. Just go to caregiverreality.com. See you next week for another exciting show of Caregiver Reality. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program